never been there, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some people in chat who've been in a world championship situation. After 2 minutes, it just goes for symmetry. Just goes for symmetry.
Like I said, I mean, don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, if Hans played a move, it must be good, so you do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and Hans looks like he's going to reflect on this one for a bit as well. Which direction for the bishop on g1 do you reckon? Or g8? Either one. Take your pick.
Yeah, I mean, this idea of like h4, bishop h2 is pretty congruent with White's strategy of fighting for some of these dark squares. At the same time, the question is one of like priorities, because is White's priority to exchange bishops, or is it to open the center? Or conversely, is it to like get a grip on the center with something like g3 and f4, which I don't like because it restricts the bishop, but a lot of these small decisions, and Hans making them very confidently. He's feeling it. e4 right away.
Yeah, I was feeling like it would be nice to play e4 or e5 from either side. But Nepo was not worried at all here, and he's happy to play an advanced Caro here with bishop h7. If it comes to that. The piece that'll be hard to sort out will be the bishop on b8 if White advances now.
A little trivia, David. The bishop h7 move, it reminds, well, it's similar to the queen g8, queen h7 maneuver. What is that one called?
Oh, there's a name for queen g8, queen h7?
There is. It's the Rubinstein maneuver.
Really?
It's named, well, at least that's how it was introduced to me after a game between David Yanofsky and Akiba Rubinstein. I think in like 1908 or so, where the queen was transferred into the game in this very unique way.
I'm going to trust you on all dates.
I definitely butchered it's sometime in the early 1900s.
F3.
After the U.S. Civil War, but before World War I.
That's safer. That's a safer range. So he plays like a fantasy variation without any sack. He holds his center. Bishop's going to come to h7. I feel like to make progress would not be easy for White here. It could be a general kingside expansion, g4, h4, knight g3.
Maybe some Mexican standoff happening here between the two bishops.
Yeah.
And yeah, Hans inching his way.
Well, White doesn't.
He wants a little more on the other side.
White doesn't want to trade those bishops, I imagine.
An interesting idea for Hans would be to throw in a check, provoke, and you pointed this out very astutely, David, earlier. Jan has blundered. Sorry, David. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, do it.
I just saw. Wait a second. What is this?
I told you he was going for knight b2.
But what's his idea? Takes knight a4, king a1, queen a3, knight f1. I'm trying to understand. There's a lot of things I can do. I can also play bishop h7 first. So let me start there. If you take the bishop first,
then probably queen a3 would be the try.
And then I thought maybe knight b1.
Ow! I'm done trying.
But forget all the complicated stuff. My biggest question is, what if king takes b2? Clearly, Jan, it's knight a4 and knight takes c3 maybe that he wants.
Yeah. By the way, Hans just traded on f6.
Which is probably excellent because it opens up a whole can of worms for black. None of this looks good for black, honestly, none of these lines. But ef6 is super precise.
That diagonal there on f6 is pretty hard to ignore, and against gf6, he might even just play queen e6, right? And just say, like, forget about taking the knight on b2.
Or even king b2 here. Like, king b2 here looks even more winning because you can play queen e6 at the end of the line, or queen e6 here. I feel like Jan just threw his hands up in desperation and just, like, knight b2 is not, a move you play from a position of strength. Great call, David. You are the Hans Niemann Whisperer.
Well, Jan heard you, and when you said, like, I think he messed up, he shook his head like, yep, I did. What can I say?
Yeah, sometimes Jan has these moments. I think his position is really bad after e5.
Right.
And he just lost his patience in 14 moves.
Yeah.
Hans is playing incredible chess right now.
You called me the Hans Whisperer, but I was just guessing one move here in this position. The thing that I really predicted was actually how Jan was going to play this position. You see, he played knight a4, then knight b6, and then knight takes b2. Like, to me, it was telegraphed. He just went straight gunning at that.
And that rook went straight down Telegraph Avenue.
Alright, so now there's the knight hanging on b2, and there's this bishop f6 check.
Oh, Hans is... he is loving this. He's streaming. Now I opened his stream. Oh,
I was wondering...
Go ahead.
No, what do you find on the stream?
Speaking some Russian, so I was just tuning into his stream. Please continue, I'm listening.
He speaks Russian?
He's learning. He knows the names of the pieces and, a couple of words.
Okay. So, like, slon.
Very good.
Alright, so I was thinking about, can the king escape from this to d7, hitting the rook and keeping you from playing bishop h8, but there's always rook e7 check, and then you take on h7 as well, right? So he's just got...
Oh my god. Everything is falling.
Yeah.
It's like, the business is closing, 75% off sale.
Yeah.
Like, take whatever. Take everything. We don't need it.
All the black pieces available here.
Wow, there's a good Russian word, istreblение, demolition. Oh my gosh.
I thought that was going to be the Russian word for fire sale.
Well, yeah. And Hans is an истребитель, which is like a